Go sentry boxes for the police who follow the race and marshal the crowds. It's common sense. Having them just stand in the road as the bunch winds up to 60 kilometres an hour for a sprint would be madness. But that's what used to happen. And on stage 1 of the 1994 Tour in Armentières, this happened.
This is going to be a shoulder-to-shoulder battle now. Nelson goes on the left, the rest are following. Martinelli is here too for the Ponti team as they come up towards the line. Nelson is taking, and they've gone one after the other. They've hit the barriers. Nelson was not looking where he was going. That was a disaster on the line there.
A disaster for two men in particular. Belgium's Wilfried Nelissen and Laurent Jalabert of France lay in the road dazed and bleeding. A pair of them with multiple cuts and fractures, more like victims of a car crash. The policeman they'd hit was stretchered into an ambulance with nothing more than a broken leg. The question was, why, when all his colleagues were pressed flat to the barrier, did one officer stand out in the path of a speeding Tour de France sprint and never move? The clue seems to be his raised right arm. He looks like a man peering into the distance, through the viewfinder of a small camera perhaps, and completely unaware of the coming impact. And note his astonishing reaction as the policeman behind jumps into the crowd in sheer panic. The officer who's been hit jumps back up and stands to attention, as though he's trying to pretend that nothing has happened. A thorough police investigation concluded that there was no camera and the officer had done nothing wrong. Funny that. Except for the two riders. After a long rehabilitation, Laurent Jalabert came back, not as a sprinter, but an all-rounder who even won the King of the Mountains competition. Wilfried Nelissen was never quite the same rider again and retired 2 years later after another fall. The Alpe d'Huez seems to have been around forever, which of course it has. But in Tour terms, it's such a fixture of the race, it's hard to imagine a time when it was just a small ski resort without a summer job. It was actually 1952 that the Alpe was baptised into the Church of the Crossed Inner Tube, and the presiding minister was Fausto Coppi.
Départ de Lausanne pour la 10e étape. L'arrivée se juge aujourd'hui à l'Alpe d'Huez à 1800 mètres.
Coppi's teammate Gino Bartali crashed before the race reached the climb. When it got there, the Frenchman Jean Robic accelerated. Coppi caught him, passed him, and made the first ascent of Alpe d'Huez alone.
Coppi est seul et termine premier à l'Alpe d'Huez où il prend pour la première fois le maillot jaune.
Apt that the man even Eddy Merckx acknowledged as the master should win the inaugural stage on the Alpe and go on to complete an historic second Tour Giro double, the only man then ever to have done it. Strangely, the Tour didn't return until 1976, although the mountain's been climbed almost every year since then, and its 21 corners are decorated with the names of the winners. The Campionissimo occupies corner 1. Long before Hannibal Lecter was having friends for dinner with some fava beans and a nice Chianti, Eddy Merckx was spitting out the remains of his rivals along with the leftovers from his feed bag. The original cannibal is the only real rival to Fausto Coppi when it comes to debates about the greatest cyclist ever, and this is the race that earned him his nickname, the 1969 Tour de France, when he made his debut and pretty much consumed the entire event. Eddy Merckx had already won the 1968 Giro d'Italia at the age of 22. At 23, he reckoned he was ready for the Tour. So did the Tour. He started as a huge favourite, despite the fact that he was up against a roll call of champions. In fact, the winners of the previous 4 Tours were all in the race, but Merckx rolled over them. Jan Janssen, Lucien Aymar, Felice Gimondi and Roger Panjon. The Belgian phenomenon won 5 stages in total, including all 3 long time trials. In fact, he won the final time trial by nearly a minute despite a couple of wrong turns. He stood on the podium in Paris, having won not just the yellow jersey, but the green jersey, the King of the Mountains jersey, and the team classification for Faima. He would have won the Young Riders jersey too had it existed at the time. No one has ever matched the feat of winning all the classifications, not even Merckx himself in his 4 subsequent Tour victories. It's the most stunning debut and the most comprehensive Tour win ever, a 3-week moment. In 1994, Chris Boardman, the world air record holder and Olympic pursuit champion, took his brilliant track career onto the road. He signed pro for the GAN team of Greg LeMond and targeted the Tour Prologue in Lille. A 3-week stage race was uncharted territory for Boardman. So was the kind of pandemonium that surrounds the Tour, even for an Olympic gold medalist. But riding against the clock was something he could control and do better than anyone else.
So he's out of the start house, a magnificent crowd now. The question is, can he do it and get the yellow jersey for Brits?
On his famous Lotus bike, Boardman rode the 7.2-kilometre course between Lille and Eurolille at 55.152 kilometres an hour. No one had ever topped 55 over even the shortest prologue distance.
Chris Boardman is doing the ride of his life. He's won 2 prologue time trials this year, and this one could be the one. He's right on the back wheel now of Luc Lebon. He switches to our left of the picture. He goes smoothly by. He's the first rider to catch a man today, and look at the ride by Boardman. This is going to be a superb time. Only Indurain Rominger will get near this, I can tell you that now. Boardman on the line, 7:49.97, and the crowd are going berserk. And Chris Boardman has done everything he promised the world. He has won the prologue time trial. He will become the first British rider to wear the maillot jaune of the Tour de France since Tom Simpson in 1962.
The icing on Chris Boardman's Tour debut cake should have been wearing the jersey in the UK when the Tour crossed the Channel. But he was too fast for his own GAN colleagues in the team time trial on stage 3 the day before. They fell apart behind him and the jersey was gone. But his prologue time remains, and he's still the fastest man in Tour history. By 1971, Eddy Merckx was the heavyweight champion of the cycling world. Luis Ocaña of Spain was his flyweight double. Merckx won the prologue and stage 1 just because he could, but Ocaña won the stage that seemed to have won him the Tour, a stunning solo attack through the Alps to Orsières-Molette that Merckx couldn't answer. By the end of it, he put nearly 9 minutes into the defending champion, and 2 days later matched Merckx on the flat, losing just 11 seconds to him in the time trial at Albi. The following day, the race reached the Pyrenees and the weather turned. In torrential rain, Ocaña missed a bend on the descent of the Col de Montée, and another rider ploughed into him as he was getting back up. Ocaña collapsed, unable to remount and continue. His race was over, yet it still felt like his race. Merckx refused to wear yellow the next day as a mark of respect. 2 years later, Ocaña finally took the yellow jersey and kept it for his one Tour win. The Centenary Tour of 2003 rolled out of Paris as well as into it 3 weeks later, and in between seemed to be trying to outdo the previous 99 years of Tour history put together for drama,
And there's been a mass pile-up there.
incident and heat. After 4 consecutive wins, it was also the first Tour in which the dominance of Lance Armstrong was seriously challenged. Under pressure on Alpe d'Huez on stage 8, he found himself chasing again the following day.